Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the QoS Workshop Series sponsored by ActionPacked Networks. My name is Steve Adams. I'll be your moderator today. Today's session topic is network reliability for unified communications. We're very pleased to have Mr. David McDaniel as our featured guest speaker today. David is a Cisco certified internetwork engineer, and he's a technology innovator who spent the better part of the last decade in the networking industry in both engineering and business roles. His technical skills, coupled with his business insights, have benefited many high-tech companies, including Cisco Systems, where he spent 6 years in technical support, training, sales, and marketing roles.
So hi everyone, my name is David McDaniel. Thank you for that introduction, Steve. I'm just going to be going over a couple, just a brief overview of unified communications, kind of what that means, and kind of where that technology is going, these days. We'll talk about those highlights of that technology and kind of talk about how network reliability is of more importance now than it's been in a long time. So some of this might be stuff you've seen before with unified communications and collaboration. There's new stuff coming out like every month practically. So if you have any questions around the technology itself with UC, or maybe some capabilities you might be interested in looking into in your organization, just feel free to ask some questions. We should have plenty of time to have a little Q&A at the end to talk about UC. As Steve mentioned, I've worked with unified communications technologies for the past, 8 years or so. So probably could answer most of your questions should those come up. Here's our agenda today. These are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. I'm just going to go over a basic overview of some of the elements of unified communication and collaboration technology. And during this, we're going to speak of the importance of network reliability in that environment. So then after that, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A as well. So one of the most important things to remember when you're looking at these unified communications technologies is that all of these technologies run on top of your existing infrastructure. So gone are the days of having separate networks for your voice, your video, your data, right? You don't have a coax network run through your building to run the video piece, and then Cat3 cable run around for your voice, and then Cat5 cable run around for your data. With today's technologies, all that can lie on the same infrastructure. So instead of having to maintain those separate networks, you just maintain one. The challenge that comes in, though, is once you have all those real-time services running on top of that single unified network, you can run into service issues if there are demands of the network beyond what the network can provide. So, a lot of things have changed here, just in the past 5-10 years, organizationally as well as with the technology. Got some of those listed up here on the screen as well. Today, people pull information from many, many places across their organization. You might have, a company like Worldwide Technology, for example, has offices all over the globe. There could be a resource in Germany that I might have just the information I'm looking for here in Honolulu, and I might want to access that person and communicate with them about something. So no longer are we just sending emails or things like that to have that type of contact, or even finding these people. How do I know who that resource is in that place, right? So as these organizations have changed, the technology has changed as well. The actual social as well as technological networks have changed also. They're constantly changing. I remember in my time at Cisco, it felt like the groups I was in were constantly evolving, constantly changing. Like reorganizations just happened, on a regular basis, just to respond to the needs of the market and, the different initiatives that we had in place. That's something that's probably familiar to you folks on the call as well, just, constantly having to change to a dynamic work environment. So as you kind of run through these different environments, it's important, these relationships that you build with people and the types of relationships you have with the different people in your organization. It's important to have that means and ease of connecting with those folks to do that. So we've seen lots of things change in that way, just with the way that people collaborate using technology. So from a Cisco perspective, we're kind of Cisco focused here at WWT, as I mentioned in the previous slides, ActionPacked Networks is pretty Cisco focused as well with their product. So this is kind of their strategic direction on collaborative technologies. I'm going to kind of point out one of the go around the world here and just kind of talk about what these different items mean. They seem like just marketing speak, but it's actually defining how they're building their products, so it's pretty important. So a big move, and we'll just start at the top here, is Cisco is strategically looking at interoperable open architectures. Now this is kind of a topic of debate for some, that Cisco would embrace an open architecture. As we've seen in the past, Cisco's created many proprietary technologies. A few examples are Cisco pre-standard power over Ethernet, ISL, if you guys remember that, a whole bunch of other things, Cisco telepresence for one. I mean, lots of technologies that are specifically interoperable with other Cisco technologies. With this collaborative technology, though, Cisco has found that they need to be able to interoperate with all other vendors to be able to provide the value their customers are looking for. So Cisco's direction to move all their products into that space is something that we've seen them adopt. So a good example of that is the Tandberg acquisition. Looking at the business video applications they have there, their ability to communicate with, pretty much any vendor, Polycom, things like that. We're seeing that capability in the telepresence technologies now as well. Flexible consumption models. So basically, Cisco's realizing not all their customers are the same. They they have different customers in different markets that have different needs. So, a 100-person company that needs a few telephones and an instant messaging solution is going to be very different than, say, the United States Air Force. So they've created a very flexible licensing model for most of their products to allow people to kind of buy as they need. Instead of buying one item, being locked into that, or having to pay an enormous price to get all these features that you'll never use, they've really tried to pare down their products in such a way that you can buy just what you need. Now, if we keep going here, we'll see this item here on enterprise social software. This is kind of a buzz topic from about 2009, 2010 era, back when, Facebook was, on Time Magazine and things like that. There's a lot of interest from a lot of folks about how to leverage this type of technology in the enterprise. So there's actually a thought leader in this space, a guy named Andrew McAfee. He was he's a professor at Harvard Business School. He actually just moved over to the MIT Sloan School of Management. He's pretty much one of the top, thinkers in this era of enterprise social software. He wrote a book called Enterprise 2.0. If you're ever interested in this type of technology, I highly recommend picking that book up or checking out his blog. But the thinking is that, people have seen how technologies like Facebook and Twitter and things like that have been incredibly useful for personal interactions. So the thinking that that technology could be used in the enterprise to ease corporate communications is not a far stretch. So a whole slew of companies have emerged to try to bring that type of technology into the corporate space. So a good example of that is the new chatter functionality in Salesforce.com. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's basically a Twitter-like functionality in Salesforce. We've seen that. So Cisco has an offering in that space. We'll talk about how that kind of ties into other unified communication solutions as well. If we keep going, we'll see here video communications. Video is becoming more and more important on the network. The video endpoints are becoming lower and lower cost. HD video is becoming a standard item that people want to see for their collaborative technologies. These types of technologies can actually save enormous amounts of money in travel expenses. And the last one here is secure intercompany. Having these different technologies available is great, but what if you can't communicate with other companies using that technology? So Cisco has a lot of new offerings now that allow you to have secure IP communications between companies. They have a product called the Intercompany Media Engine that allows unified communications technologies to interoperate. So lots of movement there from Cisco into really bringing all of these different technologies together into an integrated experience. So here's an example of Cisco's collaboration portfolio. So we're going to talk about each of these items shortly. We'll talk about how they ride on top of your network, if they're on-prem, if they're in the cloud, and how you can ensure that your network can be reliable if you start putting all these items on top of one another. So I've talked about most of these already today, just at high level, so we'll dig into them a little more, these different aspects of unified communications and collaborative technology. So here's just the examples of Cisco's products that they have in this space. Cisco has hundreds of products. I'll just kind of let you glance at these, just so you may have heard of some of these products before for their different segments that they work in. You can see there's many different capabilities that you might be interested in if you've heard of these, but these are just some examples of just different products. Of course, if you have non-Cisco as well, there's a whole other slew of products in these spaces as well. So first is IP communication. So this is kind of the first foray into unified communications technology that came up, some time ago, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. The concept of putting your voice communications on your data network as well as use those simultaneously. So most of you probably have a unified an IP phone system in place right now. If not, you can give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about them. But if you have those in place right now, you've probably utilized your network for some kind of real-time services at that point. So the beauty of the IP communications infrastructure is it allows you to access those services anywhere. So you have an on-premise technology system set in. You can connect back to your home office using VPN, and you can actually make phone calls from your computer or from your home. So it really enables the capability for people to really work anywhere, anytime. So here's a list of some of the products that Cisco kind of touts in this space. So Communications Manager is probably one of the main ones that you guys may have worked with before, also known as Call Manager. A new intercompany media engine can actually allow you to communicate between companies without paying long distance. So let's say Worldwide Technologies and Referentia Systems both had an intercompany media engine. With those engines installed, we would be able to have toll-free IP communications between our offices. So you can imagine for Fortune 500 companies, this can be quite the achievement in lowering some of those telco costs. Mobile applications is kind of a newer area that's come in. Most folks have some kind of mobile device today. I don't think I've met someone in a long time that didn't have a cell phone of some form. Most folks have smartphones as well. So this is another example of consumer technologies that companies are looking to utilize more and more in their enterprise. So the same way that it's useful to check your email on your BlackBerry, maybe you can utilize other technologies like custom applications or different business applications on your mobile device as well to help you be more productive. So mobile applications are an interesting one from a network reliability standpoint, simply because they tend to not use very much bandwidth, but it tends to be very critical that bandwidth get out. So utilizing technology such as the LiveAction product, you can actually ensure that that type of outgoing traffic out of your on-premise solution is optimized for those mobile devices. So there's lots of things you can do in that way to make sure that those types of users aren't being, their service isn't being impaired based on something that might be on your premise. Once again, here's a few examples of some Cisco technologies that are on there. They actually have some apps for iPhone, BlackBerry, and they have Android now as well that can integrate directly with your unified communication solution at your premise. Customer care is an entire segment of products in and of themselves. The whole contact center suite of products is, an entire segment of Cisco's business. Primary other competitors in that area have been Avaya, but in that space, you have a lot of companies that might have hundreds of agents in a call center that they're trying to serve. Well, with Cisco's new collaborative technologies, you can actually have some of these agents work at home if you'd like, using secure voice and secure data solutions that we can offer. It also provides the ability to do enhanced tracking, recording, and management of those agents. So contact center is a huge, huge piece, big segment. Them, more than any other, have essential means of ensuring that their network is reliable. So if you're having, a 400-agent call center, ensuring that your customers can hear the voice of those agents on the other end is absolutely critical. So large contact centers tend to have pretty robust network management solutions in place to ensure that these types of technologies will actually function the way that they're expected. But these technologies can actually be used for smaller organizations too. Maybe you have a small help desk at your company, like a 4-person help desk that you might have for your IT department or something like that. You can actually enable these types of contact center-like technologies, things like automatic call distribution. So you can distribute calls to certain agents if they're here, if they're not here. Works well if you have maybe you kind of pass the cell phone around of who gets the 24/7, the night shift or whatever, who gets the cell phone. You can actually set all that up in Cisco's technology to send those alerts out to the right person that might be on call that night. So, once again, the more of these features that we turn on, the more that we have to look at how our network is ensuring this level of service. So there's a list of a few products here. The main one from Cisco's perspective is their contact center products. Those tend to be very customizable in their operation, but definitely a highly utilized segment of Cisco's business. Another item here, this has kind of been in the spotlight the past three years or so, is Cisco's telepresence technology. It's kind of brought up from the Star Trek idea, of seeing your other person on the giant screen in your room that are they're life size on the other side. It's really been one of these disruptive technologies from a travel perspective. A lot of organizations have built out large telepresence infrastructures that have saved enormous amounts on travel. If you haven't gotten a chance to experience telepresence, it's definitely something to see at some point. You can talk to your local Cisco rep. They could probably bring you into their office and show you one of their systems there. But definitely a really game changer, I guess, in the collaborative technology space. This technology specifically, the one that you're seeing on the screen, is a Telepresence 3000 system that utilizes 3 HD 1080p video streams along with very high-def audio, along with some, an area to share presentations and things like that. So the amount of bandwidth that's required for the solution is upwards of 30 megabits per second, depending on how the system is implemented. So with that type of bandwidth requirement, not only are you going to need to purchase large amounts of bandwidth from your service provider, but you're going to need to ensure that telepresence video is being prioritized across your network. So a great way to do that is with some of these Medianet technologies like Steve was talking about earlier. You can actually monitor your telepresence traffic as it moves across your network to ensure that that quality is high. And you can actually set up alerts to inform you if that quality is being degraded. So instead of having to wait for the users to say their telepresence call didn't look good, you can actually receive that notice ahead of time. You can do that with all the technologies. Actually, it doesn't actually have to be just telepresence. You can utilize some of those Medianet features to do that with these other items as well. So just a few items here. There's always new telepresence products coming out. Here at WWT, we actually offer a mobile cart for the Telepresence 500 system as well. Allows you to keep a telepresence unit on a cart, so you can actually just roll it in and out of offices as you need, so it doesn't have to be permanently installed in a single room. Next item here is the conferencing piece. This has been a piece that's really changed from on-prem to in the cloud over the past few years. Obviously, we're all on a conference call right now that's hosted in the cloud thanks to GoToWebinar. But if you do a lot of this, there might be a reason to look into bringing this on-prem. So there's a whole suite of products Cisco offers from a conferencing perspective. It's kind of interesting. They've had competing products for cloud versus on-prem lately. WebEx obviously for in the cloud, and then Cisco Meeting Place for on-prem. So they're kind of beginning to combine some of those technologies. We've seen the WebEx Node product for the SR1000 come out and kind of bring some of those WebEx capabilities on-prem. And there's other video conferencing capabilities as well, MCUs and things like that that you can put together. Obviously, the more of these calls that you have in one place, the more important it is to ensure that you're going to be able to provide the same level of service that people have come to expect from companies like GoToWebinar or WebEx, but with a properly tuned network that's actually not that difficult to do. So lots of options there in the conferencing space. Messaging is more instant messaging, IM, things like that, as well as voicemail systems. All that's really been integrated now with Cisco's WebEx Connect IM client. So with their Jabber acquisition, we kind of saw them bring all of those capabilities into a single tool. So utilizing the Cisco Presence technologies, which can integrate with your existing LDAP or Active Directory infrastructure, you can actually have an instantly created instant messaging solution that's available inside as well as outside your company. So that combined with Cisco's voicemail systems, their text-to-speech and all that, you can have many, many capabilities on the messaging side as well. And last but not least, we have our enterprise social software. This is kind of the enterprise Facebook type applications that we're seeing. In this area, Cisco's had some really cool products come out. Show and Share is one that's really taken off this year. It's pretty much an enterprise grade YouTube solution. So as you make videos and things like that, it's ways that those can be uploaded and distributed to different folks in your enterprise. They also include some like online video editing capabilities and things like that. They have also Cisco Pulse and their enterprise collaboration platform. So Cisco's really kind of pushing into that space a bit more. I'd say it's definitely an emerging technology. Don't have a giant list of reference customers for it, but if that's something that's of interest, I would definitely recommend checking that out. So lastly, here's kind of a picture that shows how you can pull all these solutions together using some of these different capabilities. So just kind of give you a minute to kind of look over this. From a video perspective, there's many, many, many different solutions that you could have on your network at once, from Cisco's digital signage solution, video surveillance cameras, things like that. All of those items are going to need to have network reliability ensured on your network. Things that you can use tools like LiveAction or other network management tools to monitor and manage. So definitely, the world has definitely changed in the past 5 years. You see a lot more of these items on the network, and we'll continue to see more and more as time goes on. So to wrap up, from a network reliability perspective, as more of this stuff gets on your network, your applications are going to be more and more critical. Anytime you have a multi-site environment, means you're going to have a WAN link, which means you're going to have congestion. So anytime you have a multi-site configuration, whether you're connected by dynamic multi-point VPN, whether it's an MPLS cloud, leased lines, satellite links even, anytime you're going to have anything that's not connected by some kind of high-speed optical fiber, you're going to need to at least think about how you're going to optimize all these applications on your network. As you roll out these technologies, you've probably made some decisions already about what you're hosting on-prem versus in the cloud. The more cloud applications you use, the more you'll have to ensure that those applications are optimized for your network as well. And to do all that, you'll obviously need some network tools and visibility management applications as well. So it's one thing to have the box in your data center. It's another to actually know what that box is doing, what's going through it, what's being lost, and what's not. So that pretty much wraps up our presentation on unified communications and collaboration today. I wanted to open the floor here to any questions that people might have about these different types of technologies, about how you can monitor and manage that type of traffic on your network, or if there's anything else you might be interested in. I want to go ahead and open the floor here.
Thank you very much, David. We'll open the floor to questions now. How is Medianet enabled, and what types of routers and switches does it work on?
So that's a constantly evolving answer to that question. Cisco has Medianet capabilities in their ISR and ISRG2 routers, as well as the 3750 series switches. We're going to see more and more of that on the Nexus platforms, and they're higher-end 6500 switches as well. But today we're just seeing that on the ISR, ISRG2s. There's many aspects of the Medianet functionality. There's some additional IPSLA capabilities, as well as the NetFlow performance monitoring piece as well. So generally, if you have ISRs or ISR-G2s, you're going to see that capability there, 3750 switches as well. But look to see that in more and more of Cisco's products as they roll out these features.
Thanks, David. Here's another question. Do I need to upgrade all my Cisco equipment to enable unified communications?
Not necessarily. Most likely you can utilize your existing infrastructure to enable unified communications today. Almost all Cisco equipment made in the past 15 years or so has QoS capabilities built in. So just enabling some very basic QoS capabilities will ensure that those unified communications applications will operate well on your network.
Excellent, thank you.
And I think APN has some white papers and stuff on good ways to do that as well. You can also look at Cisco's SR&Ds for that. There's a lot of information out there on how to best optimize your network for those types of applications.
Excellent. Let's see, another question. Are there recommended policies to use for unified communications?
Yep, and those are going to be in those documents I just mentioned as well. So in Cisco's SR&Ds are kind of the gold standard for that. They have examples for all the many different applications that you might have, different deployment topologies and scenarios, so you can see that. You can also check out the white paper list on the ActionPacked website. They'll have some information on that as well, kind of summarizing a lot of the stuff that you'll see in those documents.
Is ActionPacked looking to support Layer 2 QoS soon? By that, we're talking probably provisioning. We do some Layer 2 monitoring as far as QoS now, and I think that is on the agenda for first quarter 2012, along with some enhanced Medianet capabilities. But Keith or David, if you're on, if you have some additional information there, that would be helpful.
I don't know if David is on the line or not, but you know, we do intend on supporting Media Trace in Q1 of this year, which will round out the Medianet family for us. So we do support PerfMon, IPSLA VO testing for IPSLA, and now we'll have Media Trace in place, so we'll be supporting Medianet completely within the product set. So today we're doing 2 out of the 3, and we'll be completing it with Medianet in Q1.
Okay.
With Media Trace.
I did get a note from Dave Azumo from our development team here. First quarter of next year, very limited Layer 2 provisioning, pushing out policies at Layer 2, and a lot of that, of course, is related to the complexity of the hardware dependencies at Layer 2 versus software at Layer 3. But he also indicates that we're working on, in Q1 of 2012, will be a lot more extensive capability as far as monitoring at Layer 2, which is going to lead us into capabilities as far as provisioning perhaps later on. But we do have an agenda to work with existing customers that are using LiveAction to do testing at Layer 2, both in lab and production environments. So we'll keep you posted on that. Thank you. This is a good one. What's the overhead associated with using new Medianet functionality on the Cisco devices?
Yeah, so it really depends is the answer. Well, let's talk about performance monitoring. So if you're going to turn on NetFlow enabled performance monitoring, if you're not using NetFlow today, the overhead of that is pretty minimal. See, about less than 1% of your traffic will become NetFlow traffic if you turn that on. So it's just included in that. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of CPU. I mean, if you've got a router that's sitting at 70% all the time, you probably don't want to turn those features on. But you know, most routers aren't that utilized most of the time from a CPU perspective. So you won't really see that much of an impact there on that piece. IPSLA VO can be very intensive on your network. It actually simulates telepresence traffic moving across your network. So you'll see massive amounts of traffic coming in off of that. Media trace is pretty minimal as well, just kind of tracing through the network to determine different service level capabilities. So you'll see the short answer is it's relatively minimal, but just know what you're doing before you turn things on. Otherwise, you know, with IPSLA VO, you could bring your network to a standstill setting that up if it's not properly configured.
Thanks, David. You mentioned with the IPSLA VO, is that overhead more related to
grouping
of tests? So it would be more capacity planning type initiatives rather than just general troubleshooting?
Yeah, you really wouldn't want to use that for general troubleshooting. It simulates your telepresence traffic, so it allows you to actually create simulated traffic on your network, which you obviously wouldn't want to do in a high-use production environment.
I think that about wraps it up as far as the questions, and I just want to thank everybody for getting together today. We've got some good ideas for additional workshops in 2012, and if you have any suggestions or topics that you'd like to see, feel free to reach out to us. Always feel free to, if you're not already a customer, download the LiveAction software, and we'd be happy to work with you. I just want to thank David McDaniel again for participating today and leading the discussion, and we hope to see you again soon. Appreciate everybody's time, and I believe we're able to adjourn for today. Thanks, everyone.